Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with another Alliance War video, and this is going to be season 56. Oh, I don't have my notes in front of me while I'm recording this, and I usually do. I think it's season 56, and this is war number 3, and AOH has matched up against AFYOK is, I believe, what they're called. But anyways, we have a really cool war today where we are able to actually bring Hood on both accounts, which is not something that has ever happened before. It just kind of lined up that I was taking a lot of Hood fights on my ult, and then on my main I had one fight, this Venom, that I needed one champion for. And they weren't for any other fights. Who's my go-to Venom counter? You know who it is. It's Hood. Every day of the week. This is going to be Path 4 Section 2, and the nodes here are when Venom throws a special, I'm going to get debuffs on myself, which is then going to trigger reverse controls. However, the node that gives the debuffs to me is subject to ability accuracy reduction. So the 65% reduction from my Fate Seal is going to make the debuffs fail sometimes, and there it made just enough fail that the reverse controls didn't trigger because it needs 3 to trigger, and we only got 2 debuffs there. So next up here we have this Shocker versus Sinister fight. And this is a really straightforward fight. It's only a rank 3, and a rank 3 mutant is not going to last very long against Sinister. We have to, against Shocker. We have to make sure that we do enough hits so that the reverb doesn't trigger, but we do land our L2 there, and it leaves him at 1%, so we just hit him once and he dies. So very, very easy fight there. We'll go into Section 2. We just had 2 nuke fights in Section 1, and we have 1 more nuke fight in Section 2. But going into our next fight here up against Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she's kind of on a nothing node. I understand kind of this node, how it can be threatening sometimes, but in most scenarios you would have to place a very specific champion on the node, and that just doesn't really matter that much, frankly. So here we are fighting Negas. Oh, I just said that. I literally am repeating myself. So we are about to get to the SP2, and then this SP2 is going to kill. She is a very frail champion because she was intended to be strictly an attacker who was basically just used for bullseye. That's what she was essentially designed for, and similar champions like to shrug off stuff, and you need non-contact hits or something similar to that for. So very, very easy fight. She does go down. She can be tricky on a few nodes, but that's just not one of them when you have a nuke like Shocker. But this fight here, we have Manthing, and this was again a fight that I just needed a counter for, and they're only for that one fight. So I essentially got to just choose 2 of my 3 champions, and I knew Shocker was going to be taking 3 fights. So yeah, 3 fights for him, 1 for both Titania and Hood. So these nodes here, this is the Prowess Puncture, Prowess Deja Vu, and then also whatever the node is where whenever they get a debuff they gain power. I'm blanking on the name of the node right now. But yeah, so this is the old node 48 before they changed the map, and they just kind of copy and pasted it onto Path 6 here, although obviously this one has less health than that one. But very straightforward fight. We're going to go L3 into L2, and that is going to finish off the fight. But I think we're going to bait 1 more SP2 here. In hindsight, I could have absolutely comboed in and just ended with a medium, so in case he threw a special, I wouldn't take any damage. And if he didn't throw a special, I could have just comboed him, but the chances are a combo into a special would have killed because they killed right there. So that is it for my path fights. I had some pretty pretty fast path fights this war, and we unfortunately only have one mini. They just didn't really place a lot of defenders for Shocker to be able to take, and also I have been bringing Angela. I brought her for the first 2 wars this season, and she was not really that useful for any of the hazard shift fights that they placed, so we decided that I would just take less fights this war. But don't worry, because I do have 8 fights on my alt once again. So we'll go into this Havok, and the notes here don't really matter, because the point of Havok being on this is that if he gets ramped up and if he starts inflicting debuffs on you, then he becomes really annoying. But the thing is, Shocker kills him way before that's even a remote possibility. So here he's going to finish a combo on my block. We are going to combo. We are going to intentionally just eat that power sting, because at the end of the day, this is Shocker's last fight. It just doesn't matter that much. And here the heavy attack is almost going to kill, and we are able to combo it out. And that rank 3 Havok goes down in 25 seconds, which is just absolutely beautiful, because when I told my officer I could do that matchup, he was very sketchy about it a little bit, or like sketched out and just not really sure if I should do it. But when I sent him that, he was like, okay, yeah, I underestimated Shocker a little. So now we're going to go into the fights on my alt account. We have 7 hood fights, and then we also have 1 fight with Luke Cage, which is the very last fight of the war. And we're starting up on path 1, section 1, then we're going to go over to path 8, section 2. On the first fight here, we have this Adam Warlock. I am going to be pretty careful with my bullets, and you will notice that in multiple fights this war, I'm going to throw heavy attacks when it's just simply unnecessary and didn't really help me. I was just kind of overcompensating for my bullets here and just trying to make sure I didn't lose them. In hindsight, I don't think any of those extra heavy attacks were actually necessary or actually helped, but you know what, it's fine. Also, I have been kind of wondering if for this specific meta, I should change the way on certain fights that I play Hood, when it's sometimes maybe beneficial for damage purposes to let the opponent throw specials when there's no downside to them throwing it and when they're easy to counter. So for example, a champion like Adam Warlock would be killed faster if I took advantage of the attacker tactic unblockable to deal extra damage. But I think I can kind of judge that as the season goes and apply it when appropriate, and you know, just do it sparingly so I don't kind of get into the rhythm of doing that often, because obviously Hood is a champion who thrives on the opponent not being able to throw specials because the more power your opponent has, the more power there is to power steal to improve the way your L2 cycle works. Also, something pretty interesting is going to happen in this fight, and that is the fact that I learned that Emma Frost reverse controls is subject to ability accuracy reduction, something I didn't know, because the first L2 that was thrown in the fight did trigger reverse controls. However, when she threw the L1 right there was no reverse controls. So it depends. I think it's just straight RNG, like it's a 65% chance to make it fail, so 35% of the 35% of the time you're still gonna have to deal with reverse controls. But yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't risky, and I knew, I suspected it might work that way, so I made sure that when I attempted to dex the L2 that I had a fresh invisibility up so that I'd be able to miss any hits I had to. But yeah, let's go on to the next one. So we're going to be on section 2 here, and we have this Moleman on the Intensify power gain node, and looks like we're throwing on another advanced power boost because the last 2 fights that I'm using for this war, I will not need an SP1 boost for, so I'm kind of using it here because that'll just make like everything a little easier. And yeah, this fight is probably the worst for me throwing unnecessary heavy attacks. I think I was just a little bit paranoid, and I forgot the fact that after this, I have 3 Hood fights remaining, right? All 3 of them are buff heavy cosmics, and well, no, 2 of them are buff heavy cosmics. One of them is a cosmic who can gain buffs, but in that specific matchup, he's not really going to. So, yeah, you'll see. My point is, I definitely think I overdid it, and this fight kind of exemplifies that. There, I forgot that he can block unblockables, so I tried to go for a medium into his block, straight into his special, but because he can block unblockables, didn't work, because I'm dumb. But yeah, here, the fight is, I believe, going to go down to this heavy attack. Nope, not quite. Am I going to let him throw a special? Looks like I'm going to... Yeah, I'll just let him throw a special, counter it, and we actually do finish the war, or finish that fight with 1 less than the maximum bullets you can get with Hood, which is 42. So that's cool. Here we have a Silver Surfer on what is the old node 41, and because I've already taken it, I know the node and I don't need to check it. My basic strategy with Hood, because I've taken so many cosmics on this node, because obviously it's a node designed for cosmics because it gives you the boosts when they have buffs, which of course Hood deals with. But yeah, I know this fight well. I have a strategy for basically any cosmic on this node, and this guy's going to be no different. 2 L2s was not enough with all the bullets to kill. Actually, that might have been 3 L2s. I honestly don't remember. But here looks like we're just going to bait this, go into another special 2. But this SP2 actually got a lot of crits, and it actually killed from the hits, which is really cool because that's not something that happens often with Hood. Often you want to spam SP2 until you have enough to detonate and just kill all at once. Wasn't the way that fight worked out, but is completely fine. So now we'll go on to our next fight here, which is going to be Medusa on the root or rooted node, which also has regeneration. The purify node is not going to matter because in Hood's normal damage cycle, he does not apply any debuffs. The only debuffs that Hood applies on his SP1, he inflicts a shock, and then when that shock expires, it inflicts a stun debuff. And then also on his L3, he inflicts a bleed debuff. But obviously, neither of those are in Hood's ideal cycle anyways, so it's not really important. But yeah, Medusa on this node, very easy. You take care of the regen, and I believe the Fate Seal can fail the root, but I honestly don't remember because I don't think I've tested it out. Maybe I have and it happened in that fight and I'm just not paying attention, but it doesn't really matter. So we have 2 fights left here with Hood and then just the one with Luke Cage. So we'll go on to our next mini here, and we have this Maestro on Mixmaster. I did take Nova on this node last war, and actually I've taken it all 3 wars because in War 1 I took a Weapon X on this node with my main account with Shocker. So pretty straightforward, pretty normal fight. As long as this guy's willing to throw his heavy attacks at the start of the fight so that I can stagger him. Would have been nice if I had an SP1 boost for this fight, but as long as I look out for my combos and I'm not like doubling hits or anything, then we are going to be just fine. Here we get to our L2, and I was kind of debating if it's worth letting him get more charges so that we can throw the L2 with invisibility. I ultimately decided that was not the play, but because with the champion as annoying as Maestro, it is generally speaking a better idea to prioritize controlling his charges than cycling your L2s. But yeah, he does go down here very easily, and pretty simple fight. That was a rank 3. I think it might have been a rank 4. I think it was a rank 3. Duped Maestro. So yeah, pretty nice fight. And we are over here for our last Hood fight of the war, which I do have to switch MD for because we are switching back to high MD. For a couple of those fights, I didn't want high MD, but I made the decision that I was going to activate my invuln boost here so that it would be active for this fight and the next one. And then I would just abuse Mystic Dispersion with Sersi's buffs to to get to an L2 fast. So I unfortunately did make a mistake in this fight. I made one mistake, and at the beginning of the fight, I should have only hit her 3 times. I'm going to hit her 5 times. And what that means is there's going to be 2 extra buffs. So there's going to be 5 buffs instead of 3 that are going to be expiring before I throw my L2, which is actually going to get me to almost a special 3 before I even have the chance to throw my special 2. And then here the power steals get us almost back to another one. But at this point, we're pretty locked into the cycle. We got a couple bleeds on us at the start of the fight, but we're not really getting many now because we're reducing the ability accuracy by so much. But yeah, we need to throw, looks like, one more L2 here. And there we get a power steal at the start of the L2, and then not a single other one. So Sersi is pushed to an L3 here. But once again, I A, have an invulnerability boost on, and B, it's Sersi with no furies. Her L3 is not going to hit hard, but also I did have a special 3 defense boost on because I just always have it active. And yeah, that plus invuln, no risk at all. So even with some bad RNG with Hood, you can be completely fine. Here we have a fight that I took quite a lot in the last 2 seasons, and this is going to be Mangog on node 46, the power gain node aspect of evolution, although this time it is a slightly different node where it has the exonerable. So we did switch over to science, power back boost, and the strat for this fight is to just push to L3 and tank it. There is absolutely no chance he gets to L3 4 times before he dies. In fact, when I was taking it last season, if he didn't throw any special attacks other than the special 3, I would often kill him before he even gets to his second special 3. But in this fight, we start off the fight very poorly, and at the start of the fight, we actually eat an L2 to the face. So now we're down to half health, our invulnerability boost is gone, and we can't let him throw another special 2 because it'll deal more damage than the first one, both due to aspect of evolution and due to the fact that our invulnerability boost is now gone. So at this point, I know the special 3 won't kill me, so I'm just trying to get off absolutely as much damage as I can before he throws the special 3. And because Luke Cage's stuns get slower, or not slower and slower, shorter and shorter, we were not able to combo in after that. If we had been able to, that combo would have killed him before I ate the special 3, but with how tanky Luke is, with my special 3 defense boost, I knew there was absolutely 0 chance that was killing me. I was genuinely not worried for a single second. I predicted it would take about half of my remaining health, and I think it took just more than half of my remaining health. So that is it for my war. Look, a lot happened in this war, and there was some stuff that went down where the other alliance was very clearly modding. And truthfully, when I planned on making this video, I had a bunch of screenshots of matchups that they took that were physically impossible to solo, that they soloed faster than you could even imagine. There are a couple examples I could give, but I really don't want the video to drag on. Basically, these guys were very blatantly modding against us and piloting. And it was not just their members. One of the players that we know 100% was modding during the war was their leader, and another one was one of their officers. So it's definitely like an alliance-wide, well-known thing that these guys are just modders. Also, they got docked. I think it was last season. It might have been the season before, but I'm pretty sure it was last season. They actually got docked for modding. So clearly they did not learn their lesson, and they need to be permabanned. But yeah, they modded, and we just couldn't beat them. They were taking fights that were, like I said, physically impossible to solo with just ridiculous counters that it was so dumb. Like, it was so clear they were cheating. It was awful. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want the video to be super long, but that is going to be it for the war. Like I said, we did lose the war because they were modding. We never had a chance from the second the war started. Basically, anytime anytime we died, they would die one less than that and just keep it one under us the entire war. So at one point, the war was 4-3, and then it was 5-4, and then it was 10-9, and then it was 13-12, right? So, yeah, sure, we didn't have our best war of the season, but if we had cleared with 1 death, they would have cleared with 0. Like, that's the kind of war it was, where it was so clear what they were doing, because every single time we died, they would die less than a half hour after. Every time. No exceptions. Like, it was insane. Anyways, we are now 1-2 on the season. I have 0 deaths total still, and my PSR is now at 40 out of 40 fights soloed this season, or 100%. 17 of those on my main, 23 on my alt. And also, as the title states, this is actually going to set a record for me for my longest deathless streak in Alliance War ever. Like, ever. My previous best was a 103 fight streak that occurred between season 30 and season 32. It was like the end of 30, all of 31 when I had a deathless season, and then also season 32. The first 3 wars of season 32, and I think I died halfway through the 3rd war or something like that. But yeah, that was a couple years ago now at this point. I think that was either 2022 or 2023. So it's insane that it took this long and literal years later for me to break the streak. But yeah, I finished last war at an 102 streak, so I technically hadn't broken it yet. But as of this war, yeah, we have officially broken it. We are sitting at a 115 fight deathless streak, and I'm looking to keep that going. I just like to play as well as I can, and the better I can play in this new harder meta while we adjust to the Alliance War new map, the better. That's the way I like to look at it. So we currently have an active streak of 51 fights on my main and 69 fights on my alt. So if we could get one of those to 100 as well, that would also be really cool. But currently my deathless streak is just between my 2 accounts. Like since the last time I died on either account. So either account would reset the total deathless streak, obviously. So yeah, that is going to be it for this war. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.